When you come into the world, we take on the identity of those who are more powerful than us. What we're looking for is a kind of person who is looking for meaning. What's the meaning of life? Why am I here?
I was sitting in a Chinese restaurant with the lady that works here, and she said, I remember how I started to smoke. I remember when I was 12 years old, my mother went, "And don't you ever let me catch you smoking cigarettes." And she went right out and smoked a cigarette. See? Rebellion. Then it could be something like, you'll grow up to be a bum, an alcoholic bum, just like your father. You're no damn good. And out you go. And it's either the warning to stop you that makes you do it, or the foreboding suggestion, projecting for you a future, a negative suggestion. You're going to be a bum, you're no damn good, just like your father. Both of those work. And why does it work? It's not really an emotion that causes your dilemma. You know, the Madison Avenue gang, they know how to create need. They know how to sell, through creating need, all their products. And they know how to corrupt you and violate you and motivate you and use your fears and guilt against you. And they know how to set you up for that, make you a consumer of a society that is being consumed. But there is no antidote. Once you've been corrupted to need anything, it becomes an addiction, whether it's clothes, whether it's music, whether it's sex, whether it's food. Once you've been corrupted by anything, the fears and the guilts multiply, and so does your need for answers multiply. And they're already there with their answers, with their patent medicines and songs and religions. And see? And of course, every time you partake of these answers, you, because you're different, children of light, feel conflict, added conflict. No, that's not it. Go around picking up religions and friends and experimenting with this, and that's not it. Because there's something in you that's not compatible. That's not your destiny to be caught up with something permanently. See, in other words, you're not compatible with it. With all the people on their way to death and dying and to destruction, and many go that way, they are compatible with it. You're not. And that's why you're indestructible. All you have to do here is you don't need a cure. All you need is someone say, hey, this is what you're looking for, and this is what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. Now, here it is. It is all very simple. It's one emotion. It's not really an emotion. It's called resentment. Now, you've heard me talk about it on my radio program, but when you were a little child, you didn't understand the power of this feeling. But this feeling, you know, it's like I slap you on the hand and you feel pain. And that's just pain you feel. It hurts. So, but if I did that with a meanness, you know, get out of my way, see? And that didn't hurt you much. Maybe it didn't hurt you at all. Right next to that feeling of pain is another feeling. And it's called resentment. And resentment is just a little flash, just a little, like a little lightning flash. That's it. And it creates a judgment, hatred. And most of the time you can't express that. What it does, it makes you sin. Forgive the expression. Because that resentment is the seed of pride and hatred. It puts the nature. Because you react to that, you become a victim. That reaction, unbeknownst to you, and the purpose of the cruelty, the whole purpose of injustice you'll say, well, that's not fair. My mom's not fair. My dad's not fair. They're cruel. And God's not fair. Forgive me, moms and dads like this. But the whole purpose of whatever it is your mom and dad did, because it is your mom and dad that did you in, let's be honest. It wasn't the grocer. Because they had you the most and the longest. And what was coming through them, of course, their parents did them in, and the spirit of that is in your parents. And it controls them. It's not your mom and dad in there anymore. Or there may be some left, and you might be able to save them if you're able to face them with what they're doing, confront. But you can't confront anymore. You can confront God, because you've been separated from God by that resentment. That's the sin. It's the sin of pride. Love, hate. See, love, hate. First comes the hate, usually. For you, your fall, you fell in hate. You fell in judgment. You fell in resentment. And the spirit of your mother or father purposely did that to you. See, they knew what they were doing. They were intolerant with your innocence. They said, with their usual rudeness and meanness. They confounded you and confused you. They said black was white and green was pink. And don't you argue with your elders, sort of thing. You know the kind of horror things that go on. The kind of horrible confusion you have to tolerate. And these people that are your mothers and fathers are not human. They're pod people. And they're either pod people all the way through, or they are like you. Pod people, you haven't completely changed yet. And if you could find the way to stop being a changeling and become back a human being again, maybe you can face your mother and father and help them too get out of their pod self, their role of destroying you and self-destructing. Haven't you noticed that every time you are frustrated and something goes wrong in your life, you get angry, and little flashes of, little energies of resentment make you flash back to your past, and you tend to resent and blame your parents?
Yeah, I see my mom made me, everything that I always talked about wasn't important, even to this day.
Even if it was important, maybe it was meaningful.
Yeah, and so now when I try to talk to people, I feel unimportant.
Right. That's exactly, there's the spirit of your mother and father in everybody. There is your mother in every mother out there, if you pardon the expression, if you know, with all respects. Or not too much respect. You know? So therefore, you're just going to have to realize that your mother has been destroyed by her mother and father. She can't help herself. And you must remember, that's the reason why we have the commandments, to, you know, to keep us contained, to guide us back to reality. You know, the sins of the fathers are projected into the third and fourth generation of those that hate me, but showing mercy to the thousands that love me and keep my commandments, sort of thing. That's a very important thing. One of the most important things is that you must not hate your mother and father. But mothers and fathers are all there are, and there was always a first mother or father. The first mother, the first woman, appealing to Adam, the first man, and him failing, and her hating him. And that becomes the hatred of all men. And so that the mothers tend to turn their frustrations of their husband against their husbands towards their male children, and pass the proclivity of Eve, the hatred of all men, onto their daughters. So they grow up hating their fathers and projecting that hate towards their husbands, but pretending to love them, because that relationship of being Eve, supporting his ego, which makes him fail, is the only relationship men want. They need their ego stroked. So therefore, the mother and father or male-female relationship is the first addiction, the first failing, and the first hate for the woman, and the first guilt for the man, and the first, because men fall in love, but women fall in hate. And the women feel guilty for hating their husbands, and they try to make up for it with a very dark kind of love. Very often the husband has learned some secret in order to cause a woman. That's why he's so irresponsible, because he knows if he's irresponsible, he can upset his wife. And when she's upset, she feels guilty, and out of the guilt comes this strange love. So she runs after him trying to save him, because she feels guilty, like responsible. So that the more she loves him, the more he falls to that love. And the more she hates and falls to that hate. And then turns the venom on the children. See? There's a wrong spirit that rules the roost. The spirit of light is gone in the father. The spirit of darkness creeps up through the mother. It's not her fault. It's really, you know, I'm not going to say whose fault it is. It's, you know, it's men are wrong and women are wrong, but I'm just giving you the order that you come into is the dark order. If I may say, a satanic order. This is what we see on this earth. The drug addiction, the crime, the horror, the rape, the violence. This has nothing to do with chemical imbalances in your cerebral cortex, or whatever nonsense words they use. This is nothing to do with that at all. It has nothing to do with psychology. It has to do with corruption, being violated, being projected into. And you're a child. You come in the world, that little light in you is very, very threatening. See? And to that darkness in your parents. And that's the reason why they're so cruel. They can't help being cruel. Because they're under a wrong system. And they have to turn you into a pod person too, by being cruel to you and failing you. Fathers fail their children. Mothers bitch at their children. And unconsciously they can't help it. They have to eat out the substance of because there's no happiness in her. She eats the substance out of her kids and puts into the children this dark nature, this confusion, this conflict, this compulsion. You gentlemen have the compulsion. Once you've been corrupted, been violated, you become a changeling, made over in the image of your mother, not in the spirit of your father, because he's died. He died. He's a non-influence in your life. You have the wrong spirit influencing you. What rules the roost, the power in your home, is your mother. Sticky, sweet, manipulative, or mean and sergeant major and cruel. That's what you got. And either way, it upsets you. And you react. And when you react, you fall from being human. And something of the darkness, which is your conflict, enters into you. So there's two of you in there. You, what's left of you, and a bit of her, crying out to all women to love you. Just like the drug addict is really crying out for mama. See, he's crying out for love, reassurance. Tell me I'm all right. Make me think I'm okay. Help me, I'm thinking I'm a god, not a dog. Because in the light of reality, he's a dog. But when he has mama's love, when he has a drug pusher's love, when he has a fix of some kind, when he cries out to something and it comes up out of the dark place, as if he'd croon sweetly for its presence. See, he falls into that. And he only has a momentary illusion of being a better human being, and then he realizes he's worse. And then he hates reality. And it's not you that hates reality, it's that thing in you that hates reality. But you identify with the thing. You identify with this dark self. And you feel pain. And it teaches you how to ease that pain. To go to the very thing that corrupts you for love. Remember, you're a changeling. You don't go to God for love because you don't know where God is. You don't know where the hell he is anymore. You have a nature that is implanted in you, and that nature cries out for what created it. If you were not corrupted, you would have cried out for what created you in its natural way, naturally. And you would have run barefoot through the sand and through the grass, carefree, blessed. And you would always be inwardly sustained and happy. But you've lost the happiness, and you became an unhappy person. And you became a changeling person. Something got inside you and imprinted itself in you and cried out to be complete. From the very thing that put itself in you, you cry out to. First hate, then it turns out to love. And that's your relationship, gentlemen, with women. You cry out for women all the time, and you pressure them. You call forth what isn't good out of them. And it rises. And you gratify yourself with it. And are you better? You're worse. And is she better? she's bitter. Because she needs to be saved from that. She's too busy saving you from that. That could save her. See? And therefore she hates all men even more. And she dies in bitterness and in grief. And her children, God help them, they're you. Now your problem is resentment. That is the root of everything that has ever gone wrong with you from the beginning. And it doesn't make any difference if you remembered where it all began. You may not be able to remember it because you've had so many frustrations and angers and resentments and so many people betraying you and stabbing you back, so many friends that became enemies. So many mornings after the night before that your greater reaction has built greater tension. And each moment badly met is like adding to the present, compressing to the on the past. So it's all buried underneath there somewhere, compressed, repressed. And the pain is so great you have to drink. What are you doing drinking or smoking or whatever it is you do, drugging? How are you solving the problem? You're getting rid of reality. You're listening to the dark side of you that hates reality. It makes you think it's an enemy. It's your friend. So you drink to be unconscious. So when you don't know you're wrong, you think you're okay. And you have the kind of friends that you can get down into, see, and get close to, and draw up some kind of reassurance that wrong is right. You're involved with a lie, more conflict. That you become emotional, you separated from your own growing, and you grow out of your mother, and not your father. Every family needs a father to save them from their mother. And that father must be calm and patient. He has to be able to save himself from his wife, your mother. Otherwise, you won't respect him. See, if he's weak for your mother, if your mother can irritate him and upset him and make him lose his cool, so he goes out and gets drunk or beats up on the furniture, on her or even you, then what is there to respect in him? And how can a person like that draw you out of yourself, draw you out of your dark self, save you? How can you follow a person like that? So your father needs to be calm. You needed a father to be calm and know how to deal with your mother. A man of great dignity and poise, of which there are very few. So the very fact that you see that he's strong under all trials and tribulation, he comes through for you, he doesn't fall, can help you attach to that spirit in him and allow you to guide or to be guided. That's all children need, is a father who is what he advises and leads as he speaks and speaks as he leads. Person without hypocrisy, speaks truth without hypocrisy. He has love, and therefore his truth is believable. But if you have no love, then you have a father who's preachy. You know, do as I do as I say, but not do as I do, sort of thing. So how can you listen to such a person? How can your kind of people? All you can do is get upset. And being upset gives you two wrong choices: to conform or to rebel. But both of those are wrong, because you'll never be yourself. The moment you become upset, you have two wrong choices. And you can never draw a sane breath as long as you live. All the strange psychologies and strange thoughts and feelings and sexual feelings will arise, and fantasies will arise in you, because it awakens. This fall to hostility is tantamount to temptation. It's like a fall from the paradise state of mind. You lose your happiness. And you fall into the lower levels of your head, like Alice in Wonderland, where the Queen Mother rules. See? That is the problem that everybody in this society has. It's called stress and pressure. And of course, once you become stressed and become a changeling, you lose your identity, and you take on the identity of the people you love, hate. So you become like the people you hate or love. You see, you can't avoid it. And then that's your conflict. Even if you get love, you're becoming ruined. Haven't you ever seen a mother upset you 1 minute and then suddenly become Mr. Nice Guy? And that, her love is worse. Her love finishes off what hate implanted. It nurtures what hate implanted. It makes you cry out for her love, for her reassurance. And you feel totally corrupted after, violated by love. Why do you think men have violence, are violent with their wives? Their mother has set them up to seek comfort from women, to become complete through a woman, a complete ass. See? Because the more they dip into that love and the more the woman rises to the occasion of that need and completes you, it completes what's gone wrong. She finishes off what your mother set you up to cry out for in other women. And other women don't understand why when they love you, you become a worse person. See? And all the leaders and politicians are women. They're devils in disguise, you see. All the entertainers, with very few of them exceptions. The musicians, the drug pushers, the psychiatrists, all the fixers, all those people who rise to the occasion of pain to solve your problems when you should be solving your own problems. So that when you get love, you're in trouble. Because even when you get love, you find that you're betrayed. And what happens when you're betrayed? Hate. And more changeling comes in and starts to live with you, takes up residence inside you. What does the Bible say about this? We war not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and powers from their secret places. Right? And that's what I'm trying to tell you now. It's not your mother or your father that's the problem. It's the spirit. You've seen these movies where spaceships come down to Earth and little green mists come out of the spaceship and kill somebody, and then he wakens. He looks like the same person. He died, but he comes back to life, but he's not him. He's not Joe anymore. But he looks like Joe. And Joe's a little strange. Joe's been acting strange lately, but no wonder he isn't Joe. Your kids go out and get drugged, stoned, and they come back and you don't know who they are anymore because he isn't your son anymore or daughter. There's somebody else. He has different allegiances, different loyalties. Whatever corrupts you, you cry out for. You're loyal to it for what it has, which is your life, to fix your soul, to complete your soul, but you become a complete pod person. Now you can't become a complete pod person. But every time you get upset, I don't care what it is, you become more of a pod person. But every time you can forbear to be upset, you become more of a real person. That's the basis of Christianity. To forgive. What does it mean to forgive? It means not to be hateful. See, because if you get upset, if you become upset, the spirit of pride enters you, the spirit of judgment. You become addicted to being upset because a judgmental, prideful pod person is all you know how to be. You're unconsciously looking for things to be upset about. But this, as you find things to upset about, and surely there are plenty of people who give you reasons and complete what was started, so you become more and more a pod person, and you deliver to one pod service person after another, whether it's the friendly dope dealer on the street or the psychiatrist who puts your conscience to sleep, so that the pod person takes over. When you come back to reality again, bingo, there's the conflict. And you don't know, how do you deal with this conflict? You have to know that conscience is not an appendage of your Neanderthal past. It's what you've descended from through hostility and resentment. And every time you become resentful, that's the key. How can you control resentment without repressing it? How can you be like the Starship Enterprise? How can you put a force field around your spaceship, an energy field, so you can see the space torpedoes coming and the shields are holding? Whang. How can you keep the horror outside on your skin, just on your skin, and doesn't get inside you? That's the secret. And I hope that you're meditating, because that's the secret. Become objective, separate from your pod self. See? Come back to the light that you've been running from. Come back to the pain. Come back to the guilt. Guilt is good. It's better off if you didn't have guilt, because I don't have any guilt. I haven't got any guilt either. I mean, that's Jewish for money. But I haven't got any guilt because my conscience doesn't incriminate me. I just haven't done anything wrong lately. So I'm friends with my conscience. So as long as I'm friends with my conscience, I'm happy. Now you see, you can't upset me. I got my force shields up. I know what you're up to. You're trying to upset me, you swine. Right? See, those people are not happy. They're not happy unless they can upset you and eat out your substance. Because once a person falls from being happy, from the inner nutrient of his own soul. You understand what I mean by that? In other words, we originally have within us a built-in mechanism, a built-in crying to God, and He comes. You know, we don't know we're crying, but we're happy because we're always being fulfilled. Once you become corrupted, you get separated from that nutrient, from the ground of being, you might say. And you cry out to all the wrong people, and you seek approval, and that gets you into trouble. You see? Once you have lost out, you start to feel empty and alone. See, cast adrift, lost, hungry for something. And you don't know how to get it back. But you find yourself, as you grow older, becoming so much like your parent that you have to satisfy the hunger by eating out the substance of your children. That's how it passes from one generation to another. They're talking about it on radio. You know, going from one generation to another. Father beats up son, son grows up to be a wife beater, or so on and so forth. But why does that happen? It's like the vampire. He bites. And he kills you. And when you come back to life, you come back from the dead by being a vampire yourself. It is a dog-eat-dog system, we call it. We have all these little colloquialisms for this, see? Follow? Now, so you have to come back to the ground of your being where you find this inner fulfillment. And you don't have to upset or be upset.